Welcome back to another edition of JD's Let's Talk here on JD's YouTube. I'm not using the mic. I kind of want to hear how the mic in my phone sounds, so I'm going to go with that. I'm just going to talk about relationships in general. I've learned a lot about relationships. Everybody has a lot to say. One of the big things I was told while going through this was the no contact rule. Like, there are videos on how to get your person you love back. I take all of this in. I don't just listen to one. I'm listening to two guys on Facebook. They're very well spoken. They sound like they have their stuff together, and they're honest. And they kind of don't see, they speak differently. Their viewpoints are different, but I take in, because I think that's what you need to do, is in order to come to your conclusion, is to take in everything and take in stuff that actually fits, because every scenario is different. Like the no contact thing. Yes, that might win your ex back, but how long will that last? Like, will they get back with you and realize that, wait a second, this is the reason why I left in the first place? Just because you have taken yourself out of their life, you have created a void that they need. And depending on if they really want to be with you or they just want to fill that void. So you have to take all these things into account. One of the other things that I'm doing personally is I don't want to necessarily recapture our past. Our past love is our past love that will never fade. It will always be there. It's stuck in my memories. But it failed, to say the least. So trying things newly, I want to hold. I know our love is pure. I know our love is true, but I want to build something new. I want to. I've spoken with Chelsea about this, and we had a conversation, and it was fantastic. We want to take what was good in our relationship, and we want to. It's like a house that had fallen down, and you want to rebuild. Is the foundation good? Okay, we can keep the foundation. Say the fire started in the living room, so you can't use the wood from the living room because it's burnt. All right, we'll just get rid of that, and we'll salvage what is good and what is still usable, and then we'll make something new. Hopefully, it'll be stronger. That being said, that new thing won't necessarily be, could be our marriage, could be just dating, it could also be just friends. I'm working on it because I do love her very much, and just being friends is not my true goal, if I'm really being honest. However, having her happiness and having her in my life is my true goal, if I break it down and really look at it. So if we happen to just be friends, then that'll be our new home. But a lot of things could happen between now and then. What I am really working on right now is that I have found my path, I've found my happiness, I've found my blueprint, so I am going to work on that. And I'm going to be very supportive of her and her finding her happiness. That's another thing. People usually in relationships get scorned or hurt, and they get spiteful. They take it, mean. And then it becomes a big thing. Well, you did this to me. Well, you did this to me. And they try to make it even, and that's not how it works. I will preach this 1,000 times because it is a thing. Perspective. If you get inside the mindset of the other person and see what they are going through, then you will realize their perspective, and you'll have yours, and the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. So if you have both, then you have the middle. I know a friend and his wife are going through some stuff. There was some infidelity, but what they don't realize is they haven't gotten each other's perspective. I'm not going to think that she is innocent, or not going to think that she's dumb either. She had to know that he was flirting. I know that to some people flirting is not cheating, but again, that is your relationship. That's why you talk. Then you find out what is and what isn't, instead of doing it and finding out the hard way. You gotta ask each other. You gotta speak, man. Communication. Speak. Ask each other questions. Ask each other the hard questions. If you cannot ask your loved one the hard questions because you're afraid of the answers, or they snap at you for those answers, then you have your answer about the relationship. You should never snap at anybody for asking you a hard question. You should always take into account that they want to know something that you have the answer to, so you should answer it. It's not an attack on you. It's not degrading to be honest. It is helpful. So, there's no doubt in my mind she knew that he was flirting for years. Anybody who goes through that and thinks that is cheating will feel less loved, less attentioned. They won't feel like they're your number one. And if you're both doing it, then you should really talk to each other about it. Talk to each other about why you looking outside the relationship for something else. Why are you even, having these thoughts? Then maybe you can do what a lot of people do and have an open marriage. There's a lot of open marriage that works. There was a thing on Facebook that I seen that I was going to go over. Let me pull that up, and I will continue to talk while I'm pulling that up, because it's probably going to take forever to pull up because the internet sucks. So a lot of marriages in open relationships work. Some don't, some do. That's another thing. If you are willing to, you gotta be willing to do it. There's a difference between doing it because you want to hold on to the other person, and doing it because you really genuinely want to, you're interested. Because if you're doing it just for the other person, then it is not going to work. It's not going to work at all. There will be jealousy. There will be thoughts of, I'm not that important. So it won't work. So you have to be open and honest. So what I'm going to talk about is that there's this thing, and I've seen it. I'm going to address it. But there are different scenarios for everything. So here we go. We have romanticized the idea of romance, and it is okay. So we haven't. Hollywood has romanticized romance. It's how they sell their romantic comedies. It's how they sell their romance. Doesn't mean romance isn't romance. It doesn't mean that you can't be You can't be in a relationship and have romance. I mean, love is a great drug. It's a great feeling. So romance is not a bad thing. And we've raised our children in a world where everything points towards love. Duh. My thing about this is that's what we should be doing. If we don't, then the world will always hate itself. Why not point towards love? Why not teach to love each other? There are many different kinds of love, and people know what they are feeling. They just don't ever want to cop up to it. There's a difference between love and lust. And if we teach our children that will work too. Some things work and some things don't, but that is the individual case. My parents have been married for 36 years, going on 37. My father's only been with my mother. That is their love. Nobody can deny that. Nobody can ever tear them apart because they also have been raised that they have a problem to fix the problem, to talk to each other, to work things out. And yes, you're going to fight, you're going to argue, you're going to have disagreements. That is their marriage, that is their love. Doesn't mean it has to be everybody. My sister Alex and her boyfriend have been together since they were like 14. Didn't have sex until after college. Didn't move in with each other until, or not. Okay, they moved in with each other. He was allowed to live at the house because he worked with my dad after he finished high school. And my dad is a great judge of character. And the way that Andrew works, it shows what a person he is. So they've lived with each other for a long time. They didn't get married until after college. After my sister graduated college, she didn't get pregnant until after they graduated college. They didn't have sex. Like, they waited. They didn't get married until after graduating from college. He had a plan and she stuck to it. And he supported that plan. He wasn't selfish. He didn't. But my family's been taught close-knit, love each other. Love is love. I didn't find it. I thought I found it in high school. But I didn't find it until I was in my 20s. Like, I understand that love will show up whenever it shows up. And everything is perfect on the outside. But until you actually get to know a person, you will never know what they are going through. So this says, talking about being afraid about being alone. First of all, I don't understand how that's a thing, because technically we live on this planet with a bunch of people who are never alone. Even the people who are depressed, there are other people who are depressed just like you. People going through some shit. There's people going through some shit just like you. We are never alone. But if you talk about this, I've been alone. Was alone for 3 years. After the whole situation with high school, I had no intentions on being with anybody. I was myself. So I am not afraid to be alone. And if I could do it, then everybody can do it. But that being said, even people who are alone have their friends next to them, have their family next to them. You're really never alone. Okay, so some of us take the wrong person and try to slam it into a jigsaw just because it fits. That is true, but that is more true towards people in their late 30s, early 40s, because by now see, what I'm trying to get at is that everything is subjective. Everything is different. That is not the case in this era anymore. Children aren't trying to get married at the age of 20. No, they have careers and jobs, and that's what happens. They do their career and jobs, and then by the time they're established in their 40s, now they want to pick up somebody. But they have to do it while having a career and job, and they don't have a lot of time, and they try these dating apps, and they try this dating stuff, and it fails because they just don't have any time because they are married to their career. Things have changed. Times have changed. They've changed a lot. Everybody's focused on themselves more than ever before. You can never force anybody into your life, no matter how hard you try. They're either going to be in it because they want to, or they're going to not be in it because they don't want to. That is entirely not up to you. It doesn't matter how hard you try. It doesn't matter. Doesn't. Because the other person has free will, and they will do as they please. People are more in love with the idea of love than the person that you're with. It's not, again, it's case by case scenario. I'm not. I know damn well that I'm in love with Chelsea. I've only been in love twice in my life. I've only said it to 2 people. I am not in love with being in love. I am a romantic, but no. It causes too much. Causes too much, man. Too much pain. Too much. It's just there's a lot to go into love. So I'm not in love with the idea of being in love. I am in love because I'm in love. I understand why that works. Most people are in love with the idea of being loved, but there's nothing wrong with that as long as you find a partner who loves you too, and that you can make things work, that you don't force things to work. There's nothing wrong with being in love with the idea of being in love. I do not understand that concept. We are supposed to love each other. Like, come on. Yes, you go through heartaches a lot, but again, people are people. You need to know who you are. If you're in love with the idea of being in love, own it. Know it. But then you can go about your relationships knowing that you are in love with the idea of being in love, and then you can fix your relationships. 55% of marriages end in divorce, okay? That is a number. If I told you that there are 10 people, 5 of them get divorced, 6, let's go with 6. 6 of them get divorced, and 4 of them stay married. That doesn't really seem like a good number. However, that's not this number. Because let's take it to 1,000. Now we're talking about, 555 people versus 445 people. 445 people are married. See, this number is coming from a larger number. So yes, it's shrunken down, so you can see it as a percentage, but the number is ridiculous. The number of divorces is ridiculous, but the number of marriages is ridiculous. And that's the thing. Because nowadays we are taught that divorce is okay. That you can go ahead and get divorced and just move on and marry somebody else. The marriage is not the foundation what it used to be. Because again, times change. So when times change, things need to change. And on top of that, how many of that percentage come from Hollywood? I'm willing to bet like 20. I'm willing to bet it's relatively big number, that 55% of that, maybe 10, 15, 20% of that comes from Hollywood, which comes from 2 things. One, people not wanting to be alone, which is probably very small percent. The number one thing about Hollywood is self-promotion. So, if these 2 got married, their publicists, both of their publicists, will go for it because it will be huge. Now, there are some good marriages in Hollywood, and those are the ones that tend to stick together through it. However, there are a lot of bad ones. It's like every other fucking day I hear about a divorce, a wedding, a divorce, a wedding, divorce. And that's just the trend of Hollywood. Because they promote it. They promote, okay, we need something to do to step it up. But with that being said, there are still people who want to get married. There are still people who view marriage as something sacred, and they still do. And then some people believe that, and then they believe that, okay, now I've been hurt. We don't work together, so we can get divorced. And there's no punishment for divorce, and there shouldn't be. I mean, if it's not working, it's not working. But you shouldn't try to stop people from trying to make things work by telling them that 55% of it doesn't work. Because That's not okay. Like, you're telling people to not pursue what they want to pursue because they will fail. My son wants to be an NFL football player. It would be horrible if I threw the stats of him actually being an NFL football player in his face all the time. I do bring them up to him so we can work harder at doing it. Not to get him to quit or not even try it, but to get him to work harder because he knows what is at stake. To get him to have another passion outside of that so that if it happens to not work out, he is not stuck. He can know his inner self, and he can know what he wants to pursue. And again, we got this statistic that relationships that start before they're 30 end. Again, I don't even think this is an actual fucking number. You can never. It's a meme. I could have wrote this. Like, you're really going to post something that without doing any research, like, and even if it is, who cares? Who cares? It's not your life. It is 90% of other people's lives. Like, that is not you. That is, like, who cares? And even if they end, oh wow. And you're also not taking into account that's the time when people are trying to get their career and shit together. Their 20s and 30s are the time that people are trying, in their 20s nowadays, or people are trying to establish their brand and trying to establish a future. So no, it really doesn't work for a relationship for people to be focused on themselves. A relationship takes two people. So if you are career focused on yourselves, because more people are going to college now, more people are going to a career path that is bigger than flipping fucking burgers at McDonald's. So if you are focused, which you should be, then you're not going to have time for anybody else. I'll give you two examples. My relationship with Chelsea and Alex's relationship with Andrew. Chelsea wanted to be a nurse. She went for paralegal, and then she realized that shit is boring and that wasn't her. Trial and error, no big deal. And then she nursing, and halfway through it, Braylon was born, and we supported Brittany, and there was no time to finish. However, we knew that both of us couldn't do this at the same time because we have children. We have stuff to do, bills to pay, and all this other stuff. So, selfless is what most people don't get. This is why most things don't work. I sat back and let her go to school because I wanted to see her succeed. And I knew that I have all the time in the world to do what I want to do. I have all the time in the world to go back to school, get my degree, get my career on. I don't care if my restaurant or my business doesn't start until I'm 40. I don't care if it doesn't start until I'm 50. If it doesn't start until I'm 50, I have 40 plus years to run it. Doesn't start until I'm 40, I have like 60 plus years to run it. I have a lot of time. And the same thing with Andrew. He supported Alex and let her do this. That's the thing. There has to be, in a relationship, sacrifice and selflessness. Some people cannot do that. This generation, this world has taught us that if we want something, we can have it right now. I can say, I don't want to say it because it ruined my video. I can say, hey, Amazon, I need blah, 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 buy blah, blah, blah. Got it. Like, we are driven for ourselves. This is a time in history where technology is huge, where everything is huge, everything is at the tip of your fingertips. And yes, you should take full advantage of it. But we become greedy and we want more. Case in point, a phone comes out every year. I was having this conversation with my son. Yeah, I'm a little. Every year. It's because people need the new thing and they want it now. That being said, if you have that mindset, you cannot step aside and let your loved one move forward without going, where's mine? Where's mine? Where's mine? I've done a lot of soul searching in the last few months, and my brain does that. I'm taking full advantage of it. So, with that being said, it works when you step out. Both of my parents' relationship worked because my father doesn't step in my mother's way of her working. My father supports my mother in whatever they want to do. I hope they get their business up and off the ground. They both want to do a hippie shop. It's fantastic. I think it's cool, and I really hope that they get it done. But that's the thing. I have to be willing to sacrifice some stuff in order to make other stuff work. And if you're not willing to do that, then you won't have a successful relationship, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It is all trial and error until you get it right. I don't think there is anything in trying and losing and failing and learning. Must learn from it. Now, it says if those status for surgery, nobody take the fucking risk. Did you really look at the percentages of surgery? Some people have died from fucking removing their tonsils. Surgery is risky as fuck. There was the big debate in the early 2000s about breast surgery, about women changing the way they look just to be something they are not. I firmly believe, be happy in who you are, and if you're not, change it so you can be happy. However, this rose to a bunch of people going to Mexico to get under the table surgery for $100. And a lot of it was being fucking botched. And it was all over the news, and they were telling you not to do it. Big giant risk. 90%. Yes, people are still doing it. Yes, people are still having surgery. People have died from getting their tonsils removed. Yes, they still do surgery. People were willing to take any risk they can in order to succeed in life. If it is going to be a big payout, they will take it. It doesn't matter what it is. Gambling. You are willing to lose your fortune, your nest egg. You're willing to gamble it all to get a bigger piece, especially if you start winning. Then you start gambling more. Yes, people will risk a lot, if they think the payout is worth it. It's why it's why the business of risk analysis is a thing. It's not because it's love we're stupid. We take risks all the time. You personally may not take a risk, so you think that everybody else doesn't. See, that's the other thing about people, is they always view in their perspective, so they always have to have a tie-in to everybody else so they can feel normal. I used to do it all the time. I thought, well, I hold the door open for everybody. That must be a polite thing. I don't speak until everybody's done speaking. That just must be a thing. I've come to realize that it's not. It's me. I've also come to realize that sometimes when I think about stuff, that I'm thinking about it, my mindset and my bias. So I think about it, my bias, my mindset, and then I think about everybody else and what they are saying, and then I really look at it. And the bigger you fall, the more you hit the bottom, the greater the climb back to the top. You have to be willing to fall flat on your ass in order to get up higher. Take for what I'm going through as an example. I have fell flat on my ass. But I will be a much better person when this is all said and done. And that is what I'm looking forward to. I'm seeing it all the time. And no, there is absolutely nothing wrong with taking time for yourself. But again, nobody really takes time for themselves because they still surround themselves with friends and family. Nobody ever goes, and it's not take, oh, I need 3 years sabbatical. It is whoever is at, I'm going to quote Gary Vee, whoever is that negative person in your life, then you don't need to be talking to them all the time. If you talk to your mother 3 times a day and she is a very negative person, talk to her once a week. You don't need to cut them out completely. But you do need to step back sometimes. I mean, it's never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to be selfish sometimes. It's never to be. But my thing with that is I am on a kick. It doesn't need to be everybody's thing, but I'm a kick trying to do more, give more than I get. And that makes me feel really good. It makes me feel that my life isn't worthless. My life is fucking on point because I am more interested in helping somebody else out than I am getting stuff back. I really don't care about getting stuff back. I'm shooting this video on an iPhone. I have been doing the YouTube thing for over a year. I have 20 subscribers and I'm thankful for all 20. All 20 of you who are subscribed to the channel, much love to all of you. I am making this content for all of you. So yeah, I'm okay. And then it just keeps going on and on. But you can't. Fear is what holds us back. And fear is, it's good at times because it makes you stop and think about things sometimes. Not all the time. But this life is way too long to be afraid of every little thing. We're usually afraid of the unknown. The gravity was unknown. Now look at it. Like, there's a lot of things. Technology was unknown. Internet unknown. Like, if we don't take risks in life, we won't ever seek reward. That being said, I really didn't think this to be a 30-minute preaching video. To the Lord Jesus, amen. Anyway, so with that being said, much love, JD out.